All right, professional colleagues in the hall, kindly take the front seat, please. Please, our colleagues at the back, we implore you to please take the front seats. Hello, sir. Kindly take the front seat so that others coming will be sitting behind you. Thank you. One more. One more. Hello, Mr. Dipaiva, can you please come? Technicals, give me 1 minute, please. All right, ladies and gentlemen, professional colleagues here seated. I have the instruction of the 15th chairman that our colleagues should please move forward and sit in a cluster form because of the empty seat, so that we have a beautiful view on the screen. So you can come forward, please. Come forward and sit closely. Thank you. We are starting in a minute's time now. Please, our colleagues outside, kindly come inside so that we can start the program now. Technicals. All right. All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Here seated in the hall and our colleagues that are joining us virtually. We want to welcome you to yet another technical session of Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, Lagos State Public Service Chapter. Today, Thursday, 27th March 2025. Already we have our facilitators here in the hall and the facilitators joining us virtually. They are also here to do justice to the paper that we have today. As you can see, this is tax reform in Nigeria, challenges, opportunities, and the way forward. Ladies and gentlemen, can I quickly say that you welcome yourselves and get seated, be prepared to tap from the wealth of experience of our facilitators. And I say to you, good morning, Barika de Salah, if you permit me, Ramadan Kareem, and of course, happy Lenten season to our Christians in the hall. Ladies and gentlemen, can we rise as we start the program with the national anthem and ICANN anthem. Thank you. Technicals.
Shall be a symbol
Let's take the icon anthem, please. All right, thank you so much, technicals. Please pardon me while you are still standing. Let's all take the opening prayers as we recite the third stanzas of the Nigerian national anthem. Let's go. O God of all creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed, and so with peace and plenty, Nigeria may be blessed. Put your hands together for yourselves as you get seated. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. And we are starting the program in earnest. And before we do that, let's, like I said the other time, please, you can, professional colleagues in the hall, kindly move forward so that we have a beautiful seat here. Ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, Lagos State Public Service Chapter, where we have a technical session to discuss, to open our eyes, to teach us about the tax reform in Nigeria, the challenges, opportunities, and the way forward. And of course, like I said the other time, we already have our facilitators, our erudite facilitators, world-class facilitators. They are here in our midst to do justice to those to the paper. All right, before we move on, of course, we need to recognize our dignitaries here present, both in the hall and those that are joining us virtually. Of course, all of us are important dignitaries, but of course, we still have to take some people to the high table. Ladies and gentlemen, the host of today's program, the chairman of the chapter, ladies and gentlemen, permit me to invite to the high table the chairman of the chapter, Mrs. Akinshola Florence Titilayo, FCA. Kindly put your hands together for her as she takes a seat. You are welcome, ma'am. Well, of course, we still have to take some people to the high table. Ladies and gentlemen, the host of today's program, chairman of the chapter, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. I think there's something, there's a hall back in the hall. If you are in the hall, you don't need to join virtually again. You can see that echo coming back to us. If you're in the hall, please don't join virtually. Just make sure you give us your attention here. Thank you so much. And for the benefit of our professional colleagues online, this technical session, there is going to be credit hours from the Institute. And for you to get that credit hours, kindly change your device. Put your name, your membership number, online so that the technicals here, the secretariat here, can capture that. Thank you so much. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we move on. Let me also invite to the high table the vice chairman of the chapter, in person of Mrs. Suarao Oluwatoyin Deborah, FCA. Put your hands together for her as she comes to the high table. All right, you can come, huh? Thank you. All right, that is the vice chairman of the chapter. All right, again, let me also invite to the high table the immediate past chairman of a great chapter. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mrs. Akinola Musiat, FCA. Thank you. You are welcome, ma. You are welcome, ma. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as you have seen in the flyer, and as you have been told, we are having in our midst the president of our Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ably represented by the council member and our chapter coordinator. It also doubles as our chapter coordinator. Ladies and gentlemen, join me to welcome to the high table the president of our institute, ably represented by Mr. Benga Omidiji, FCA. You are welcome, sir. Please rise up as you welcome the president. You are welcome to our midst, the president of ICANN. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, we move on. We also have in our midst, and we are recognizing him to come to the high table, one of our immediate past chairmen. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together as we welcome to the high table Mr. Shuaib, FCA, our past chairman. Mr. Shuaib Badmos, FCA. Thank you so much, sir. You are welcome, sir. All right, we move on. We also have in our midst, we are inviting him to the high table. Like I told us the other time, the ESCO of this chapter have done a great job by inviting a world-class facilitator. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together as we welcome to the high table Mr. Taiwo Kajesomo, Mr. Taiwo Okunade, Mr. Taiwo Okunade, FCA. You are welcome to the high table. You are welcome, sir. Of course, quickly, we also have in our midst, which I will try to do quickly, the ESCO of this great chapter. Of course, we have the chairman already seated at the high table, and also have the vice chairman who is also busy at the secretariat there. Ladies and gentlemen, we also have the treasurer of this chapter, Mr. Jimo Omoni Razak, FCA. Put your hands together for him for recognition. We also have the Secretary General of the chapter, Mr. Ambali Kabiru Abiodun, FCA. That's Mr. Ambali for you there. The Assistant Secretary, Mrs. Bakari Ajibola Morufat, FCA. You are welcome, ma. Of course, the Financial Secretary of the chapter, Mrs. Abdullahi Raji Feintola Basirat. You're welcome, FCA. We also have in our midst the Social and Publicity Secretary, Mrs. Okusanya Oluwakemi Oladuni, FCA. You are welcome, ma. We have the S official, one, Mrs. Akimbo Durojaye Odunayo Ayoyemi, FCA. You are welcome, ma. S official, two, Mr. Alakpe Olufemi Abayomi, FCA. All right. Then, of course, the IPC already seated at the high table. Then we also have some representatives of some of our offices. They are also here as part of the ESCO. And I will quickly mention their name for recognition. We have representing the Local Government Council Treasurer, Mr. Mujitaba Rufai Karonwi, FCA. Put your hands together for him. I also have Folao Alao Kashimao, FCA, representing the internal auditor from the local government. Mr. Anima Shaun, here present with us. Quadri Oluwaseyi, FCA, representing the OSAG. You are welcome. Then also Mrs. Bodede Olushola Temitope, FCA, representing Ministry of Health. Put your hands together for her, please. I also have Mrs. Oladipupo Balogun Maria Itunu, who I call ITN. FCA, put your hands together for ITN. You are welcome, ma. All right, and again, we have my best friend, and put your hands together for my best friend, Mr. Tijani Sodiq, FCA, representing the Lasmira. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, because of want of time, I quickly want to recognize, please, Secretariat, as our dignitaries comes in, please let me have their details so that we can recognize them properly. But in our midst, we also have one of our past chairmen seated here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the privilege to welcome and to recognize Mr. Oyegunle Kayode, FCA, one of our past chairmen. You are welcome, and God bless you. Yes, there is a standing committee doing this work. Yes, but because of want of time, maybe later we quickly recognize them. Yes, let's start the program quickly. And as we have our dignitaries online, we'll have them and their names, we'll recognize them. Ladies and gentlemen, the program is starting. And ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as I welcome to the podium the chairman of this great chapter, Mrs. Akinshola Florence Titi Layo, who is also someone I called my mother.
Good morning, everybody. My distinguished guests, my esteemed members, and my fellow professionals. I'm honored to welcome you to this technical meeting of the ICANN Lagos State Public Service Chapter, themed Tax Reform in Nigeria, Challenges, Opportunities, and the Way Forward. As professionals in the accounting and finance sector, we recognize the significance of tax reforms in Nigeria, economic growth, and development. This technical session will provide a platform for us to engage in meaningful discussions, share insights, and explore solutions to the challenges of facing our tax system. Our chapter is committed to promoting professional excellence, capacity building, and advocacy. We believe that this technical meeting aligns with our objectives and will contribute to the advancement of the accounting profession in Nigeria. and also our distinguished members. I would like to express my gratitude to our guest speakers, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, FCA, who is the Chairman, Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms. He will be joining us online. Also like to appreciate Mr. Kehinde Kajesomo, FCA. FCIT is a Deputy Director, Head of Treaties and International Tax Policy, Department of FIRS. He will equally be joining us online. Not forgetting our own Mr. Taiwo Kwade, who is in charge of tax and regulatory services at Deloitte. Your expertise and experience will undoubtedly enrich our discussions and provide valuable insights into this topic. I would like to express my gratitude to participants present here and online for your time and your expected contribution to this meeting. Before we proceed, I would like to acknowledge the 60th President of our Noble Institute, Chief Davidson C.S. Alaribe, FCA, for your support always, and I know you'll be joining us online, but is also ably represented here by our own coordinator, Mr. Omidiji Benga, FCA, who is here with us, and we appreciate your commitment to the development of accounting profession and also our chapter. I will not forget to recognize the planning committee for this technical session. They have been wonderful and committed. Clap for yourself. I would also like to appreciate all our past chairmen of this chapter, both online and physically present. You're welcome, and thank you for your support always. I will not forget to appreciate our patron, whom I know will be joining us online, or if he's there right now, for all that he's been doing. He's always been behind us and nurturing us. The Accountant General, Permanent Secretary, our own Dr. Muritala Abiodun, FCA. Thank you so much for your support. Once again, I would like to inform us that we've been gifted a piece of land to build our secretariat. This land is located at Nob Oluwa Street, Ogba, Ifako Ijaye. We already have a survey which will be displayed soon. We have a survey and a drawing already, and we want to intimate you of our intention to raise funds for this project. Please be prepared, as we shall be coming to you. Let your name be on the marble wall of honor for being part of this development of building our own secretariat. Mr. Mike, please let them see what we have been working on. Okay, so while he's showing that, I want to say once again, that I welcome you all to this technical meeting. Let us engage in robust discussion. Let us share knowledge and work together to advance the accounting profession and contribute to the Nigerian economic growth. Thank you so much, and God bless.
All right, thank you so much. I think we can do better for our chairman, who has been working graciously to push this chapter to the next level. Thank you so much. And I'm so happy to hear that, oh, this is beautiful. Could you please put your gaze on the Wow. Wow. This is beautiful, okay? All right. Well, yes, this is Lagos State, and a chapter here. You can't have anything less in Lagos State. Lagos State, a call for show, a state of excellence. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together again for this wonderful chairman and the entire ESCO for putting that together. All right, yes, that was the opening speech from the chairman, Mrs. Akishola Florence Titilayo. And ladies and gentlemen, permit me to take this correction, and I stand corrected. We have our coordinator, chapter coordinator, Dr. Omidiji Benga, FCA. Pardon me, sir. Pardon me, sir. It's not easy to become a doctor. I'm still Mr. Maybe by the time I become doctor, no, I won't allow anybody to murder my designation. Thank you so much, and I tender my apology on that. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, the next we have on our agenda is another address by the president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, Chief Davidson CS Alaribe, FCA, ably represented by Dr. Omidiji Benga, FCA. You are welcome, sir. Let me bring the mic to you there. All right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. The chairman of Lagos State Public Service Chapter of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, the vice chairman, immediate past chairman in attendance, our guest lecturers, distinguished professional colleagues who are presently here, and those joining us online, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to be here in dual capacity, first as the chapter coordinator, and also representing my president, our president, Diamond President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, Chief DCS Alaribe. Let me congratulate the chapter on this event. Technical sessions are designed to enhance the technical competence of our members, because after doing everything possible, burning the candlelight to qualify chartered accountants, we are daily tested on the job. And because we live in a dynamic environment, there is always the need to upscale our ability and our competence. And that's why the Institute engages and encourages chapters and districts to also engage in technical sessions such as this. The topic for the technical session has also been adequately and well placed, because one of the things that is generating so much interest in the country today is the tax and the tax reform bill. So our members need to be enlightened. They need to be on top of their games for the benefit of their clients, for the benefit of their offices, and for the benefit of the nation. And the guest speakers have also been well searched for and acquired to do justice to the topic. So I want to once again congratulate the chairman and our team and the entire chapter for this event. On behalf of the president, I also like to express the Institute's profound appreciation to the Lagos State government for the continuous support the Institute has always enjoyed from the government. The support to the chapter, the support to the Institute, and more often than not, we know that there is no year that goes by without the Lagos State government being a significant part of the success story of the annual Accountants Conference. So please, the President would like to use this medium to express the Institute's appreciation. Also, we also want to appreciate the government and especially the Accountant General for always ensuring that members of the Institute who work within the Lagos State government are always financially up to date. And that is a very good milestone. Please, can we again encourage that? I'm happy with the news of the gifted land, and even before you saw it on screen, I've had the opportunity of seeing it live and direct in my presence here, the design and everything. And when the chairperson was saying they would need to raise money, I said, 2 names on this paper alone is enough money, and that is Lagos and State. So it's a good initiative, and we look forward to the project taking off and being completed within a very reasonable time. On this note, I also, please, my MC here, I'm meeting you for the first time, and I want to offer you a challenge. I've attended a lot of programs, and one thing that is not too, we always find lacking a bit, is the competence of our MCs. Most of our members are always too figure inclined. But I must commend the way the MC has handled the program so far. And I want to offer you, on behalf of the Microphone Handlers Association, of which the president is chairperson and patron, to please consider joining part of our bank of Masters of Ceremony at the Institute. So on this note, ladies and gentlemen, professional colleagues, on behalf of the 60th president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, Chief DCS Alaribe FCA, I have the singular honor and privilege of declaring this technical session open. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give another resounding clap to Dr. Benga Omidiji, FCA, for giving your boy here the opportunity to work for the Institute. With my pleasure, I grab it with all pleasure, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, just like the 15th chairman used to say, let me quickly digress a little. The planning committee, the technical committee, have put this together, and they have worked day and night to make sure that this is a success. She used to say something that, let's bring in our colleagues. They have potentials. Let's bring them in. And I have the pleasure to tell you that some of our members are part of this committee, and they have performed wonderfully well. And that is your handiwork, the chairman. And of course, my humble self here, I also came from the Catch Them Young committee. Somebody saw me, somebody recognized me, and I want to thank you, the chairman and the entire school, for this opportunity to do this work. Anytime, any day, I'm ready to work for my great institute. Thank you so much. Somebody was telling me there, who are you? I don't know you. Okay, let me quickly introduce myself. as I have introduced every other person, my name is Okeaminu Ayodele Oluni, FCA. Well, some people call me Ayo, Baba Ayo. I have a son named Ayo, and my name is Ayo. Well, if you see me, you can call me Ayo, Baba Ayo, or you call me Okeaminu Ayodele Oluni. Thank you so much once again. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. FCA. Thank you. But if I want to tell you before I got to that FCA, I can examine something that is beautiful. I should not say that. My taxation was superb, if you know what I mean. All right, let's go. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are having the program now. Of course, we have a... All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm being informed here. Our father is joining us online as I speak. Ladies and gentlemen, please, with a sounding ovation, give it up to our father, our mentor, our supporter at any time, any day. The #1 accountant in Lagos State, Accountant General, Permanent Secretary, Dr. Muritala, FCA. Put your hands together for him. You are welcome, sir. As you can see your children here with a standing ovation doing you that honors. Thank you so much. Appreciate you dearly. We thank you so much.
Everyone.
I personally, I thank you so much, sir, because you are
morning,
indeed
everyone.
my mentor too. Thank you. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you so much.
Also,
I'm pleased to join you.
Joining us virtually, we also have another chairman, past chairman, joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together as we also welcome virtually past chairman, Mr. Tairu, FCA, who is also joining us. We recognize you, sir. Thank you so much. You are welcome. All right, without wasting our time.
Good morning, professional colleagues.
Let's have the paper presenter do justice to this paper. Like I said the other time, we have two of them that will be doing justice to this tax reform in Nigeria. Mr. Taiwo Okwade, who is live and direct with us here. And of course, I don't know, is it a coincidence, sir? Taiwo and Kehinde. The other man, he is twin brother, if you ask me. Mr. Kehinde Kajesomo, it's also joining us from Abuja virtually to also co-present this paper. Ladies and gentlemen, I have Mr. Taiwo Okwade. But before I bring him in, let me tell you a little about the person you are about to listen to. Mr. Taiwo Okwade, FCA, is a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, and a member of Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. He's a partner at Deloitte & Touch with over 21 years of experience. He's an expert in tax matters, specifically transfer pricing and business corporate tax compliance for local and multinational companies in Nigeria. Taiwo Okwade has been a speaker on tax topics within and outside Nigeria for the past 15 years. Ladies and gentlemen, join me to welcome to the podium Mr. Taiwo Okwade as he comes forward to present his paper. Please put your hands together for him. You're welcome, sir, and thank you so much, sir. Thank
you. Good morning, colleagues. Madam Chair, because I don't want to call you Madam Chairman, so Madam Chair. Representative of the President of the Institute, the other distinguished colleagues, and ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, everyone. So, unfortunately, I'm not here to teach you what is in the tax reform piece. I'm only here to talk about some, few salient issues. So what I'm going to do, because I think I only have 30 minutes, right? Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'll try to maybe identify a few issues that I think are very important to all of us in the room. Talk about those issues. They talk about what I believe, are the challenges that are embedded in this tax reform bills. Then I also maybe briefly, touched on the opportunities that I think the bills present. Then I will give you my personal opinion about the bills. So I'm waiting for them to. As you are aware, the conversation about this tax reform bill started last year. I think it started about 2 years ago. But the conversation, started in, seriously last year when the Presidential Committee on Tax Reform was constituted, and some professionals were put together to, and I'm sure you have representatives from Lagos State, representatives from different agencies of government coming together to identify the challenges that our tax laws have been facing in the last few years. Some of us in the room, we know some of those challenges. Very difficult for a lot of the provisions in our tax laws that are moot. They do not necessarily represent what you see in reality. Sometimes you go into the tax law, you see a penalty of about, for infraction, you see a penalty of 1,000 naira, and you'll be wondering, what will that penalty do to anybody? If you put a penalty of 1,000 naira for somebody defaulting on a particular aspect of the law, it's not a deterrent. So if you are telling me that if I don't pay tax, the penalty that I'm going to pay is 1,000 naira, what will motivate me to pay? I would rather pay the 1,000 naira where you cash me than to pay the tax today, because I also try in my head to look at the time value of money. We all need to accept that reality that everybody cannot be responsible. Even in developed climes, not everybody is responsible. People don't want to pay tax generally. Do you agree with me? Okay. So it's not peculiar to us. They don't say, oh, we are Nigerians, we are the only one that do it. They do it in developed countries. They don't like paying anything. If you go to the UK today, you hardly see anybody pay license. If you don't catch them, they don't pay it. Do you understand that? Okay. So the same applies everywhere in the world. So what I'm going to do, I will talk about, the bills. There are about 4 bills that have been, that are in front of the National Assembly now. Fortunately, I think last week, the bills were passed by the House of Representatives. So what we have now is we are waiting for the Senate to also pass the bills before the bills are presented to the President for assent. So, like I said, there are 4 bills, and those 4 bills, represent an harmonization of all the tax laws that we have. Now, we have so many tax laws, and those tax laws represent different aspects of, or subject different aspects or different kind of businesses to tax. We have what is called the Company Income Tax Act. We have what is called the Personal Income Tax Act. We have what is called the Petroleum Profit Tax Act, and so on and so forth. Now, those tax laws are going to now be embedded into those 4 tax bills or tax acts when they eventually pass into law. And those 4 tax acts are what is called the Nigerian Tax Administration Bill, which will become the Nigerian Tax Administration Act when it's eventually passed. The Nigerian Tax Bill, which will become the Nigerian Tax Act. Then we have the Joint Revenue Board Bill, which will become the Joint Revenue Board Act. Then we have the Nigerian Revenue Service Bill, which will become the Nigerian Revenue Service Act. Now, like I said, what's the purpose of having these bills? Let me just touch on a few of the purposes of these bills. What the Nigerian tax bill specifically wants to achieve is to be able to provide Okay. Okay. Thank you. So what the Nigerian tax bill intends to achieve is to unify or provide a unified fiscal legislation governing the taxation of businesses in Nigeria and individuals. Now, because individuals and businesses pay tax, right? So what the bill is going to do or seeks to achieve is to bring together all those taxing legislation into one bill or into one act. So instead of having a personal income tax separately, a company income tax act separately, and having a petroleum profit tax act separately, you only have one tax law. Does that make sense? So that is exactly what you see in other jurisdictions. For instance, if you go to Ghana, what you see is the Ghana Revenue Act. You don't see the Ghana Company Income Tax Act, Ghana Petroleum Profit Tax Act, or Ghana Personal Income Tax Act. You see Ghana Revenue Tax Act. The same thing in South Africa, the same thing in the UK. Now, in the UK, the HMRC codes, there are different codes, but they are all in one legislation and they represent different aspects of taxes. So, what we are doing now is to try to shift, and it's a significant shift, from where we are at the moment to where we think other developed countries have been for the past 10, 20 years. So this is exactly what I've been talking about. So we have all the tax laws are now going to be in those four Bs. Can we move to the next slide, please? So let's move on. So let's talk about the key changes. I'm not going to talk about everything. I'll just identify a few of them. Go on. Company income tax rates. The company income tax rate is going to be, the way the law is going to be written now. There is going to be a priority sector rate, and there is going to be small company rate. In the tax law as it is at the moment, we have what is called, company. When you have small businesses that are subject to different tax, subject to tax based on different regime compared to big companies or big corporations. When you are a small business, you are not expected to pay tax if you are reporting below certain threshold of revenue. The same is going to apply in the new legislation. We are still going to have the same thing, but there's going to be something that will not be applicable to a priority sector. Now, when you are in the priority sector, you are going to subject to tax at different rates compared to companies that are not in the priority sector. Priority sectors have been defined in the legislation. Then we have effective tax rates as well. What we have at the moment, companies pay what is called minimum tax when they report tax below a particular level. Now, most companies in Nigeria, when they are going to be subject to minimum tax is applied as a percentage of your revenue. And businesses have complained about that if I'm going to pay minimum tax, you shouldn't apply it on my revenue, because what it means is that if I'm reporting revenue and at the end of the day I'm not reporting any profit, I'll still have to pay tax, which businesses believe to be unfair. Now, we are moving completely away from that. We are going to what is called effective minimum. Now, this is shift to what is in the Pillar 2 principle. Pillar 2 is just a global concept where multinationals pay tax based on a minimum rate of about 15%. Nigeria is going to be doing the same thing, even though we are not in Nigeria completely adopted Pillar 2 solution in Nigeria. We are trying to adopt it into our domestic legislation. So, based on this legislation that you are going to have now, can we go back? I think do you want me to have it and control it from here, or yeah? Sorry about that. Okay. So businesses in Nigeria that are reporting minimum of about 50 billion will now be subject to what is called the effective minimum tax rates. It doesn't apply to any business, any domestic business that is making less than 50 billion naira in revenue per year. Now, the same thing applies to multinationals that are doing business in Nigeria. If you're a multinational operating in Nigeria and you are reporting, you have revenue of about 750 million euro, then you have to be subject to what is called the minimum. Sorry, this is not pounds, it's euro. 750 million euro or its equivalent. Then you are going to be subject to what is called the minimum tax of about 15% of your profits. Let me go to personal income tax. I don't want to talk about, so many issues because I only have 30 minutes. In the personal income tax, I know people have been talking about what is called rent allowance. That government said that the allowance that you get before your personal income tax is calculated, now, which is called the consolidated relief allowance, is going to be eliminated, and you're only going to be granted a rent allowance of about 200,000 naira, right? That is what will happen. But now, the National Assembly is trying to move away from the 200,000 naira, and they are increasing it from about 200,000 naira to about 500,000, based on the legislation that was or the bill that was passed by the House of Representatives last week. Then the concept of residency is going to change. Residence principle is what is used to tax individuals that are, that are supposed to pay tax in Nigeria. So based on the legislation now, the residency principle will change a little. It's still going to align with the global principle of residency, because you are not taxed in Nigeria unless you are resident in Nigeria, right? So the same applies to anybody that is a foreigner. If you are a foreigner and you are not resident in Nigeria, you don't pay tax. I can't go to somebody that is living in the UK and ask the person to come and pay tax in Nigeria. It doesn't make sense. So it is only when you are deemed to be resident in Nigeria, that is when you pay tax. So we have expanded it a little. So residency is not going to be based on when you are domiciled, when you are living in Nigeria, or when you have a strong tie to Nigeria. Strong tie can be as a result of properties. If you have a property in Nigeria, or you have a family in Nigeria, you can't say you are not resident in Nigeria when your family is living in Nigeria, or when you have a property that you bought and that property is sitting in Nigeria, then you are going to be deemed to be resident. Does it make sense? Then value-added tax. I know we've been hearing about this staggered rate on value-added tax. That value-added tax is going to increase from 7.5% to about 10%, to 12.5%, then to 15%. That is no longer going to be the case. The House of Representatives said no, that the VAT rate should be retained at 7.5%. Okay. Then businesses are now allowed to claim the input VAT on all their expenses. Now, the law, as it is currently written, says that if you are providing services or you buy services, the input VAT that you incur on services that you purchase, you cannot claim it against your output VAT, right? So the law is going to change. If you buy assets, you incur input VAT on assets or services, then you can claim it against the output VAT that you charge to your customer, which means that everybody can claim their input VAT. The current, principle where only manufacturing businesses or businesses that sell goods can claim their input VAT is no longer going to be. So everybody can now claim their input VAT, which is a good, because that is the way it applies in other jurisdictions. So you should be able to claim your input VAT if you incur, regardless of what that input VAT is on. Then there is this, what we have in the law now, where you are supposed to pay or render your VAT return and pay your VAT within 21 days. The law is changing a little. Now, if you collect VAT or you self-account for VAT, or you are deemed to be an agent that collects VAT or remove VAT on payment that you make to your customers or your vendors, then you are expected or you're required under the law to remit the VAT within 14 days. It's no longer going to be 21 days. So this aspect of the law is something that everybody needs to pay attention to, so that we will not fall foul of it. So no longer going to be 21 days, it's going to be 14 days. Does it make sense? So because money that you have collected on behalf of government is not supposed to sit in your bank account for a long time. So 14 days is a reasonable time as far as that is concerned. So let me go to capital gains tax. Now, in the capital gains tax now, the government has decided that they are going to put digital assets as part of assets that's attributed to capital gains tax. Now, people, as you are aware, we have a lot of people trading in digital assets in Nigeria at the moment. Maybe, if you are not aware, people do it on different platforms now, and they make a lot of money, even though the risk is there. But people make a lot of money from, selling these assets. So government is now recognizing this and saying that if you sell digital assets and you make, gain from it, then you pay capital gains tax. Now, we now have what is called indirect disposal of shares in Nigerian company. Now, capital gains tax is only applicable when you sell shares directly, right? You go and sell shares. If you sell your shares and you make a gain, then capital gains tax is applicable, right? Because it's a capital transaction that you derive gain from. Now, government is now saying that, you know what? Even indirect sale of shares is now supposed to be subject to capital gains tax. Now, you can have multinationals, a parent company sitting in the UK that has a subsidiary in Nigeria. And when you sell your shares in that Nigerian company to another person outside Nigeria, capital gains tax will be applicable in Nigeria. That is not what is in the law at the moment, but that is what government is trying to achieve. It's also in other legislation in developed countries. So there is nothing wrong in Nigerian government, trying to make money from indirect, sale of shares in Nigeria as well. Stamp duty, excise duty, technology and digitization, administration, offenses and penalties. So let me talk about excise duty. There is this debate about excise duty on telecommunication services, right? So that is no longer going to be, because what government wanted to do before was to charge, or the committee wanted to do was to charge excise duty on telecommunication services. So the House of Representatives did not agree with that. So that aspect of the legislation is going to be expunged. Does it make sense? So then, stamp duty, now we now have the obligation for stamp duty. In the law at the moment, there is no specific provision with regard to when stamp duty is going to be paid. Now, the law has now specified it, so it's going to be within 30 days. So any transaction, any due-to-able transaction that you embark on or you consummate, you are expected to pay the stamp duty on that transaction within 30 days. So there is timeline with respect to when the tax has to be paid to governments. Then I'll talk about technology and digitalization. Now, we are not going to be having what is called e-invoicing. Government has now encouraged the concept of e-invoicing. You don't necessarily have to invoice your customer by sending invoice to them, physical invoice to them. So it can be done electronically. People are already doing it anyway. So what the law is just trying to do is to formalize it, right? Then we have the concept of fiscalization, digital fiscalization, where businesses are now going to, or the tax authority is now going to introduce, technology that they can use to collect tax from taxpayer, and the tax authority has the power within the law. The law has given the power to the tax authority to come up with any technology that will make tax collection very easy for them. They're already trying to do it. A lot of businesses have been pushing back that, you don't have the power. But now when this, bill is passed into law, that will no longer be the case. The government will have the power to use technology to collect tax from you. So they can come to your office and say that you are running a business that we need to connect to your, to your platform for us to be able to know the revenue that you are generating, so that we can take our tax, in advance. Then offenses. Now, offenses and penalties, the different tax legislation have provisions for offenses and penalties. Now, we are now going to have all these in one legislation. You are not going to see penalties for failure to file company income tax return under CITA, penalty for failure to file personal income tax return under PITA. That is not going to be the case. So you are going to have all these penalties, consolidated, and they are going to be uniform. So where you have penalty for personal income tax being different from penalties for failure to comply with, capital gains tax acts, will not be, the case. You are going to have uniform penalty. Penalty that applies to failure to file company income tax will be the same penalty that will apply to failure to file personal income tax returns. So those are because I read, what the House of Representatives passed last week, and I tried to bring out, some of those changes, because the law that you can see in the public domain, may not necessarily reflect some of the things that I've spoken about. But I've called out some of those changes that I think the House of Representatives made last week. I've already spoken about some of them, so I'm not going to repeat them again. Like the 200,000, which is now 500,000 for the rent relief and so on. So what else? What are the challenges? Okay, let me talk about a few of the challenges. Multiplicity of taxes. Now we have a scenario whereby taxes you pay. You have different legislation subjecting the same income to taxes. You go to company income tax, you go to capital gains tax. You see an income that's supposed to be subject to company income tax. There is a debate whether capital gains tax should also be applicable. That will no longer be the case. The laws will be so clear on which legislation or which tax should be applicable on a particular income. So we are going to be very clear what should be applicable. There won't be any debates where the tax authority will come and say, no, you're supposed to pay capital gains tax instead of personal income tax. Does it make sense? So then, ease of doing business. We are going to have a lot of businesses coming to do business in Nigeria. Because one thing that businesses hate the most is uncertainty, or when you are not clear about the provisions of the laws. When you are clear about the laws that are applicable in a particular jurisdiction, you tend to take your business there because you know what we apply to you. Let me tell you, businesses don't run away from a particular jurisdiction because they believe that the tax rate is very high. No, that is not the case. When they are clear on what is applicable, if they are going to pay 40% tax, why are businesses going to the UK? Why are they running to the UK? Why are they doing business in the UK? Even though the tax rate is very high. It's because of certainty. They are clear on what to apply. They don't want to go into a jurisdiction where they are not clear. This is the tax that we apply. This is the tax that we not apply. They don't want to say whereby the authority will come and say that this tax that I'm applying is too low. I'm applying this particular. I'm applying another legislation on the tax because I think it's debatable that I can also apply that. Outdated and fragmented laws. So our laws are not going to be up to date. Hopefully, we are going to have the same situation that we have in countries like the UK, where there is an amendment to the tax laws on yearly basis. So when you do that, you keep your tax laws up to date, so they reflect realities. Instead of your tax laws speaking a completely different language from what the economy is speaking. So, and the use of technology is going to present its opportunity, because businesses will be able to, when businesses latch onto this, there will be businesses that will, that these opportunities will present itself to, and they will be able to create additional business for them in the country. So what do I think is a way forward based on my, some of these things that I'm talking about are basically my opinion. So let me talk about tax transparency. There will be transparency of, in our tax system, and government will be able to generate additional. Okay. So, so what I'm going to do, instead of, because I've been told, maybe wait until, I start taking questions that I can tell you what my personal opinions are. So, I hope you'll be able to take one or two things. So what I've tried to do is to make the presentation available to everybody. And I'll put my contact details in the presentation. So if you have any question with respect to any aspect, and those that I didn't speak about, you are free to reach out to me on WhatsApp or any other means. Thank you for listening to me. Yeah.
Wow, that was a beautiful presentation from Mr. Taiwo Okunade, FCA. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly put your hands together for him again. Thank you so much. We are so grateful. Like you said, I hope you people have been able to, jot something as regards this tax reform in Nigeria. Thank you so much, sir. Wow, ladies and gentlemen, yes, as you can see on the flyer, we have 3 of them to present this paper, but we have the opportunity to present to you Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, and that is the Chairman, Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reform, who is also joining us virtually to present his paper. Technicals, can you put on Mr. Taiwo on? Please put your hands together for him as he speaks to us virtually.
Good morning. I hope you can
Hello,
hear
sir.
me.
All right, thank you so much, sir.
You can hear
Can you
me?
hear us, sir?
I can hear you.
All right, thank you so much. You have the floor, sir. God bless you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, and good morning to everyone. The Accountant General and the other important personalities in the room, and to the participants. Sorry I couldn't join you in person, and I'm also out of the country at the moment. I had to actually excuse myself from an engagement I'm having to quickly come and speak to you briefly in about 10 minutes. but essentially just to try and encourage us to look beyond the noise. And I say the noise because once the issues around the VAT sharing formula came up, we had a bit of whether there's inheritance tax in the reforms or not. You could actually count on your fingertips the issues that people were discussing. 90% of the issues were less than 1% of the reforms. And it's very easy to get distracted. And that can be okay for the general population, but not for professionals. So if as a professional, you are not aware of the critical reforms, it makes it difficult for you to perform your roles very well, whether you work for the government, whether you work in the private sector, whether you're just a professional, because you cannot give what you don't have. You need knowledge, and knowledge has to be renewed every day, and more so with this kind of transformative reforms that the government is introducing at this time. I do see it as a significant opportunity for professionals. And I've said before, like an analogy, that if professional accountants and tax practitioners were to be listed in the stock market, our values have just gone up because it means that we are needed now more than ever before in various roles. But guess what? The people that will get the most benefit from these reforms will not be the people that are making the loudest noise. It will be the people who are intentional about understanding what the provisions are and how those reforms impact different stakeholders, and then be able to advise. So I'll say seek first to understand and understand beyond the surface. The reason why you're professionals is that your conversation needs to be different from, when people are having conversation on the streets, because you're professionals. What we have done, which is the starting point if I want to advise anyone, is to start with the summaries that the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee have put out. I have seen a lot of professionals, some of them in various WhatsApp groups, some of them openly, not even understanding how the new PIT table and band would work. So that's something that is so basic that we actually took it for granted that we only needed to explain it to maybe like labor union. I was surprised personally to see professionals who have been doing personal income tax competition for years getting confused about the new table and band that we put out. So we had to then develop a model because I saw many economists, maybe I can forgive them, go on TV and go on with wrong analysis. We put up a template, a model that you can find now if you go online to fiscalreforms.ng. You would see the template there that can help you compare your salary now, the taxes you pay now versus with the same salary, the taxes you pay under the proposed reforms. We also have the same thing for VAT. We had a session with the organized private sector, and CFOs of 2 large companies did not even understand that the VAT reform we are proposing was going to reduce their CapEx budget, not increase it. So one of them asked me and said, when are they going to sign these laws? I need to know the increases to put in my budget. Because of that, I said, no, don't put increases, put decreases, because your CapEx would come down. Your CapEx would come down because today, when you buy an asset and you pay VAT on it, you cannot get input credit for that as VAT on the asset. At best, you add the cost of the VAT to the cost of the asset and you claim capital allowances, and that's a credit of 30%. Under the reform, that credit goes to 100%. That's significant. We do not get input credit for services today, like professional firms. I don't even think that there are many professional firms who are familiar with how to claim input credit for themselves, because they've never had to be able to do that. Now you're going to be able to claim input credit as a professional firm when you buy laptops, when you buy your phones, when you travel, and you pay VAT, you can claim the input VAT back. Many people do not understand these details. So in the short period that I have, I just want to encourage you to look beyond the noise, pay attention to the details, and then empower yourself. So you can start with the materials that we made available. We try to summarize them. And then ultimately, you still have to read the laws, and you should read them line by line. The lawmakers are still doing their work. The House of Rep have concluded. They have their own version of the bills, but the Senate are still working on it. They are likely to have some areas of differences, which should then trigger a harmonization conference, and then we'll see what the ultimate final version will be. But I can tell you that all the issues that the lawmakers are debating are actually less than 5% of the reforms, which means if you are familiar with the reforms today, you're already 95% comfortable even before the final versions are signed into law. Let me stop there, and hopefully we're able to take maybe 1 or 2 questions so I can get back to my meeting. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
All right. Yeah, we sincerely want to thank you for doing us this honor to create time out of your busy schedule to attend to us. Ladies and gentlemen, could you please your hands together again for Mr. Taiwo Oyedele? Yes, I was made to understand that the Accountant General is actually online and is actually raising up his hand to talk to us or ask questions. I don't know. But while I give the audience to the Accountant General to speak or probably ask questions in line with the topic at hand, you people in the hall here too, kindly get ready to ask Mr. Taiwo question if you have any. The AG, you have the floor. Kindly unmute yourself, sir.
Thank you so much. I'm actually on my way to the venue. And number one, I have...
Put your hands together for him.
I have...
All right, AG is joining us. Should we reserve your comments?
Yes, I'll join you. No. I can... Mr. Taiwo Idili is a busy man.
All right, sir. Go ahead, sir.
And it would be good that we ask some questions.
800.
Hello?
We are with you, sir. We can hear you.
Okay. It will be good that he have an idea of...
Okay.
We advise the local corporation to take good apprentices for outcome seminars. Why? Everybody talking.
Gentlemen, could you please rise up as we welcome the Accountant General, Permanent Secretary, Dr. Abiodun Muritala, FCA. You can come to the high table, sir. They insist that you come, sir. All right, that's a beautiful. Then at the same time, without wasting your time, sir, since you have something to share with us and Mr. Taiwo is still on, let me pass the mic to you, sir. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Taiwo Yedele. We appreciate your time. We know you are a busy man. We've gained a lot from you. You know, I am one of those who believe so much in you. And I have mentioned that your position today, we appreciate it. My advice to my colleagues over time has always been, it's your knowledge, update your knowledge. I'm always in school. I think I'm one of your students always learning from everybody. So it's good that my colleagues also try to add to their knowledge. Looking at the old reform, I know it's a big one. You also then need to organize a class for us to actually understand the applicability of all those your positions. You spoke about the bands. Well, you said professionals. If professionals are misapplying it, what then happens to us who are not professionals? Those who are in the private sector who are doing it, if they are not getting it right, what then happens to us? So I need you to help us, maybe at your own time, or you get somebody who has a good understanding the way you have it, to come and then take us through it. I know it won't take more than 5 or 10 minutes. Or you can just do a video clips so that people see it in such a way that we can make reference to it anytime. You know, for us, we use technology to drive our processes. We will be good that we have a better understanding of it. Then we can then adjust our Oracle financials so that we don't under-tax people or we don't overtax people. That's very, very, very important. Also, I think I've said a lot on the phone while I was coming in. I spoke about the fact that you didn't hear me. Wow. Sorry about that. I spoke about the residency rule. The residency rule, as shown in the slides, spoke about the residency as it relates to Nigeria. What is the position as regards residency when it comes to states? You know, this one is saying, oh, if I have spent 183 days in Nigeria, that is when I am a Nigerian resident. That is Nigerian residency rule. What about the one for states? You know the rule about the states. The fact that I work in Lagos and where people who live in Ogun State, we then remit the tax to them. Has it changed? I need education on it. There is also the issue of improvability as it relates to services, that you are bringing it on board. You know, for us, me, or for some of my colleagues, I also want to speak on their behalf that, is it that easy when it comes to services to actually identify VAT as regards services? I need a practical example, sir. And there is an issue around remitting VAT within 14 days. I have a challenge here. I'm giving somebody a job and I'm meant to remit his taxes. It is not before I can remit anybody taxes, I need tax identification number. And if that does not come within 14 days, I'll be running foul of the law. Are you saying I shouldn't have given him job ab initio, or it should form part of criteria for giving somebody a job? I need education on that. And I also spoke about stamp duty. Stamp duty for me is a state tax. What is the position as regards stamp duty? I need a further education on it. And lastly, sorry that I'm asking too much question. The multiplicity of taxes. You know, it's something that before you even became the chairman presidential committee, you gave an example of about 100 toll tickets that somebody will receive between here and say north. You know, it's something you've been campaigning against. How have you addressed it as it relates to local government, states, and federal, such that no tier of government is shortchanged? Again, is the fact that if you look at Schedule 4 to Constitution, which speaks to local government revenue, I hope that has been adequately taken care of, such that there is no conflict between the law we are trying to do and the Constitution. Thank you so much, sir.
All right, thank you, sir, for those beautiful questions. Let's give the opportunity to Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, FCA, to quickly respond to those questions, sir. Mr. Taiwo, sir, you have the floor, sir.
Yes, thank you very much to my big brother. You see that he's not the student, he's one of the lecturers. Those questions that he asked are not the questions you ask when you have not studied the bill. So, and they're really very important questions. So thank you very much for asking. So on the first one around residency, so this is one of the problems we've tried to address in the tax reforms. And you're right, the existing tax laws identify when you're a resident in Nigeria without identifying when you're a resident in a state. And because it's a federation, we thought that the approach should be different. So you're a resident in a state before you're a resident in Nigeria, except, of course, if you find yourself within the exclusive economic zone that is not mapped to any state, because we have that about 200 nautical miles that is not mapped to any state. So you can be resident in Nigeria without being resident in a state. But those definitions now have been covered under the Nigerian tax bill. We also have decided that it's better for us to be clear about who should be entitled to the taxes of limited partnership. You know, we didn't have limited partnership until 2021 when CAMA was reenacted. So it has now introduced two types of partnership, two that are incorporated in addition to the traditional one that we're familiar with. Interestingly, Lagos State has always had the law that permitted a limited liability partnership, but it wasn't very popular, but CAMA now has made it popular. And essentially in the tax reform bills, we have said this belongs to the states and the state should collect the taxes, even though they are registered as a company. On input VAT on services, the way it will work is that just imagine a professional firm. So let's say it's Taiwo & Co. And we do audit services, we do tax, compliance services. So when we invoice our clients for our audit fees and professional fees for tax, let's say it's 1 million naira, we would add VAT to it. But you know, even as a professional firm, we also incur VAT. We buy airtime, we pay VAT, we take flights. The VAT is suspended now, but let's say there is VAT on flights, you pay. Let's say you buy iPad and laptop for your staff, it will have VAT. So all those VAT, as we speak today, the professional firm will have to bear them, right? But under the reform, you will compile those expenses, take the amount of VAT, let's say the total amount of VAT is 1 million, you deduct that 1 million from the output VAT that you charge to your client before you pay the net to the government. So this is a big positive for professional firms, as an example. So that is how the VAT on services and on assets would work in terms of claiming the input VAT. But bear in mind, if what you do is VAT exempt, like banks, the bulk of the income of banks are VAT exempt because they make the bulk of their income from interest income and so on and so forth, very little from commission and fees. So banks will not be able to claim the bulk of the input VAT on their assets and on the services that they consume. So it will just vary by sector depending on the nature of your activities. Remittances by 14 days. So this is the FRS trying to solve a problem administratively. So they want, if you are trying to claim an input VAT, the FRS wants to be sure that the person who sold to you have remitted the output. They don't want you to claim inputs on one hand when the output has not been remitted, because there's always two legs to a transaction. There's a buyer and there's a seller. So their own way of working around it is to say the person that deducted the VAT at source should remit first so they can have the record on the 14th before you now come to claim it on the 21st. We have said to the FRS that that is an unnecessary complication that we should deal with from an admin point of view. So what I can assure you is that the fiscalization, there's a fiscalization in the tax reform bills, which is really part of electronic invoicing and getting real-time data from taxpayers as they issue invoices. That system will make these 14 and 21 days become almost irrelevant because the system will do it automatically. As the person is invoicing like this, is recognizing it for you, whether you file on the 14th, on the 1st, or the 21st, it will not be a problem anymore. Stamp duty. We agree with you, sir. We took the view that based on Section 163 of the Constitution, stamp duty is exclusively the revenue of the state, not to be shared with federal, not to be shared with local government. And the federal government decided a few years back to amend the Finance Act and called stamp duty on electronic money transfer a different name, EMT. And they put a sharing formula there, so that's wrong. And what we have done is to use the opportunity of these reforms to correct that. So in the reforms, we have removed electronic money transfer levy and return it back to stamp duty so that the revenue will go to the state 100%. This is one of the reasons why I was a bit disappointed at the point when states were fighting the reforms. And I said to them when we met with the governors, I said, well, on balance, if we didn't have a president like the current president, he will be asking us whether we are confused about who sent us to do the reform. We were doing more of the reforms in favor of the states. We even asked federal government to take part of their VAT and give to the states, but we thought it is the right thing to do. Whether, it's recognized or not is not really important. We're not looking for appreciation and thank you. We're just doing what is good for our country. So the last one is the local government taxes. Yes, we are very mindful of this, and that is why in the tax reform bills, we do not yet have the repeal and reenactment of the Approved Levies and Taxes Act. And that's because we're still doing the consultation. We don't want to have an overreach and go against the Constitution. The Constitution, for example, empowers local government to collect levies and permits on TV, on radio, on wheelbarrow, right? Wheelbarrow and bicycle. And we don't think we should be doing that in 2025. But you can't just, by a stroke of pen, say you're not doing it anymore. So we sent proposals to the National Assembly to amend the Constitution. We're having those consultations. And when the process is completed, we'll then be able to truly harmonize all the nuisance taxes to the benefit of everyone, local government, state, federal government, and more importantly, the Nigerian people. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. We are indeed grateful. But before we let you go, I think the AG still has one more position to share with you, sir.
All right.
Thank you so much. And if you look at the Constitution, as it relates to stamp duty, derivation is of essence. It was actually mentioned clearly there. I hope that is also emphasized in the new law. Thank you so much.
Yes, the AG is right. So derivation, and this is also one of the reasons why we didn't understand why people were just going to town about our proposal to share VAT based on 60% derivation. The Constitution actually says that stamp duty should be shared among states based on derivation 100%. 100%. So because that one is in the Constitution, you don't even need to debate it. That it is what it is. So the data to be able to do that is whatever stamp duties you collect as a state, right, is a reflection of the derivation of stamp duty in your state. In addition to when we collect stamp duties that involves a company, it's collected by the federal government, they need to track where it's coming from, but there are instances where they can't track it. So at the end of the day, they put everything in the pool and use the data they have about what the states have collected and the data about where the federal government collected the stamp duties, and that forms the basis of derivation that they will use to share the revenue 100. Bear in mind that the stamp duty you are sharing among states is only the one collected by the federal government. The stamp duty collected by the state is kept by the state 100%. The one that is collected by the federal government is the one that you have to share using derivation as the basis for sharing it. And I think the other comments I did not respond to, which I agree with the AG 100%, is the need for capacity building. So we also have recognized that. So as I speak to you now, we're working on a detailed curriculum to develop the capacity for professionals, for tax officers, for taxpayers, and we're going to be rolling that out. We also want to be able to sit down with the Internal Revenue Services and walk through the details of what this means for them, because a lot of things will have to change, and we need to start that process now, not wait until the bills are signed into law and it takes effect, and then we look like we're a confused set of people. The time to start building the capacity is before the commencement of this tax reform. But overall, I think it's a very exciting time for professional accountants, whether you're in the public or private sector. These are the most exciting times to be alive. I'm excited, and I think you should be as well. Thank you once again.
Wow, thank you so much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, please, you can do better than that for Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, FCA, who has actually left his meeting, international meeting, to attend to us here. We appreciate you, sir. But before we let you go,
okay,
you cannot go now until we'll invite, because I have a short mouth. My mouth cannot contain that. We are inviting the vice chairman of the chapter to really appreciate you on behalf of the chapter. You are welcome, Mrs. Oluwatoyin Suarao, FCA.
Good morning, AG. Good morning, all. Good morning, my boss, sir. Thank you so much for this honor. We do not take it for granted. We knew that you were engaged internationally, and we were permanently giving you pressure, and you bowed. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your support all the time. And again, if you recall, sir, the last time you were here to give us a lecture, I told you, I said, I wish that the government would identify the talent in you and bring you on board. And 3 weeks after, now there you are. So I want to be prophetic again this morning to say that from the presidential committee, you're going to be going higher than that. So shall it be? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think at this junction, we appreciate you. You can take your leave to join your international meeting now. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Oyedele.
Thank you.
God bless you,
sir. Yeah, bye-bye.
All right, that was a beautiful one, if you ask me. What do you think? It was indeed beautiful. Thank you so much, sir. And we appreciate you, AG. Yeah, Mrs. Suarao. Well, you are the prophet here now. I need you to prophesy into my life too. Maybe they will call me for higher position. Thank you so much. Oh, okay. Thank you. Well, my name is Oliver Twist. All right, thank you. I appreciate you all. I appreciate you all. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not wasting time. I know all of you have your questions ready. Then Mr. Tairu, I learned you are there. Please hold on with your question. We'll finish with the second speaker before we call two of them. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think the AG is taking his leave now. Thank you so much. We appreciate you for honoring yourself. God bless you, sir. Okay, it's just a short one. Yes. That's the ICON president, ably represented by Dr. Benga Midiji. Thank you so much. You can join them. The I table, join them. Just the I table. All right, thank you. All right. The vice chairman, you can. All right, thank you, man. Thank you so much, sir. Put your hands together for him as he takes his leave back to his office. Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate you. We know you are always there for us.
God bless my AG. God bless you, sir.
Oh, okay. Those online are also thanking you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. I'm made to understand that our next speaker is actually on, and anytime from now he's going to be speaking to us. Ladies and gentlemen, while we await the chairman back to his seat, let me quickly take a brief biography of the next speaker, Mr. Taiwo Kajesomo, FCA. Sorry, Kehinde Kajesomo. Yes, well, we have Taiwo here. What do you expect? Taiwo and Kehinde, we are honored. Put your hands together for this twin. They are doing us that honors. Thank you so much. Yes, Mr. Kehinde Kajesomo, it's Deputy Director with the Federal Inland Revenue Service. Is the head of the Treaties and International Tax Division, Policy Division of the service, supervising FRS team that participates in tax treaties, negotiations, and the development of international tax rules, policy, and standards. He also coordinates the adoption of rules, policies, and standards for domestic law implementation. He is a member of the Subcommittee on Model Convention of the United Nations Tax Committee of Experts and one of the vice chairs of the OECD Working Party on Tax Treaties and Related Questions. In the domestic tax space, Kehinde Kajesomo is an active participant in the development of domestic policies on taxation. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished professional colleagues, join me to welcome virtually Mr. Kehinde Kajesomo, FCA, to deliver his paper. Over to you, Mr. Kehinde.
Good morning, colleagues. It is my pleasure to be here with you this morning. Since the chapter has decided to make today the Day of Twins, so I will also like to appreciate my earlier twins presenters, Taiwo Okwade and Taiwo Yedele. Particularly, Taiwo Okwade, my very good friend. I didn't know you'd be here, but I saw your chat earlier. It is my pleasure to be here together with you. So I will quickly share my slide and dive into my presentation. So the topic that have been given to me is a tax reform in Nigeria, challenges, opportunities, and the way forward. So I will go a little beyond. Sorry, I will go a little beyond the current reform that is going on in Nigeria. Before we have this present reform, which has culminated in the 4 tax bills that are before the National Assembly. We've had some reforms in Nigeria, and by the way, when we talk about reforms is just about finding a better way to do a thing, to carry out a transaction or an activity, or finding a way of delivering better service or providing service that's in a better way to satisfy the customers. And if you are talking of tax reforms, the customer here in this instance will be the taxpayers. So whatever we do to ensure that we have a better tax system comes under the system of reform. And reforms in Nigeria doesn't start from now. In fact, it precedes the constitution. It precedes independence of Nigeria. The earlier constitution we have in Nigeria, most of them actually incorporates tax reforms. And for some that knows, when you talk of the 8th March 1961, is a product of some reforms, constitutional reform that happened before then. But for the purpose of this discussion, I will start with the value-added tax reform 1993, which is a reform that was done to find a better way to manage the sales tax that we had prior to then. Because of the issues with the sales tax, the government of that time, during the time of President Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, looked at the tax system and the sales tax particularly, and the outcome was the introduction of the sales tax. Then in year 2010, starting from year 2002, during the regime of Obasanjo, we also had a reform that was championed then or headed by Dr. Phillips. And at the end of the day, is produced the national tax policy in year 2012. But the focus of that reform then was the tax policy. Then subsequently, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2023, we had the Finance Act. But if you look at these reforms, if you look at the sales tax reform of 1993 that produced the VAT, it focused on the sales tax. The reform of 2002 focused on policy, while the Finance Act reforms, of course, focused on reviewing the outdated tax laws in Nigeria. The only time we've had a reform that is encompassing is actually recent. The reform we are going through now, the tax reform bill 2024, which is not limited to the sales tax as we have in 1993. It's not limited to legislation as we have in the Finance Act, but encompass the whole of the tax system, looking at the policy, legislation, and administration. So the reform we have presently goes beyond focusing on the tax bill we have before the National Assembly. It goes beyond that. It incorporates both policy, legislation, and administration. I will come back to this and explain how these reforms is able to deal with policy, legislation, and administration. I will quickly go back to the challenges with the Nigerian tax system. As I said earlier, before you can be talking about reform, you must have some challenges with the way the present is being ruled or is being carried out. So you want to find a better way of carrying out that activity, function, or make that system work better. So the challenge with our current tax system is so many. We can start looking at this from the tax evasion and avoidance. So many people are able to go outside the tax net. Our system presently is not able to capture everyone that should be in tax net. Even those that are in tax net are able to, through one scheme or another, able to evade or avoid taxes. Then we have a tax system that have not been able to deliver optimal revenue. And the effects of how we measure that is the very low tax to GDP ratio we have currently. Until about 2 years ago, we were hovering around 6% tax to GDP ratio. Until about 2 years ago, that it was moved to about 10%. And if you compare that with the average in Africa, which is around 17%. In fact, some jurisdictions are doing more than 20%. So we see that our tax to GDP ratio is very low. So our tax system has not been able to produce or give us revenue that is sufficient to ensure that we have appreciable tax to GDP ratio that is comparable to what we have in other African countries. Then we have outdated tax laws and administrative practices. We've had some changes from 2019 to 2023, apart from 2022. But for some of us that are Christian, the Bible says that when the foundation is faulty, what can the righteous do? So we have some fundamental issues with the tax law that can't just be corrected by finance acts or which are going to be mere cosmetic. So we needed to look holistically at the foundation of the tax law, how our tax is being practiced. So we needed to look at the whole tax system instead of just looking at the laws alone. We also have unstructured and inefficient tax incentive regimes. For presently, if you look at the global minimum tax rule, we see that Nigeria, on the average, we have while the 15% is what is considered as what is acceptable, what is adopted as the minimum effective tax rate. In Nigeria, the average effective tax rate is way below the 15%. So, and what is the cost? Incentive. And our incentive system, we are not saying incentive is bad. Incentive can help stimulate the economy. But the way we run our incentive is unproductive. In fact, you have a situation where a company that is paying its taxes will suddenly inform you that they have moved to a free trade zone. And in that free trade zone, most of the items they are selling is still coming back to the custom territory. So then we begin to wonder, what was the motivation or what was the reason for going to the free trade zone, if not to run away or evade taxes? Also, our pioneer sector, you see some companies that have been operating for more than 20 years suddenly come to you brandishing a certificate that it is now in pioneers status. So you begin to wonder, at what point is this a new company? What's the basis for that company giving a pioneer status? So those are some of the issues we have. We also have issue of lack of autonomy and inadequate funding of our tax administrations. One of my friends was appointed into the management team of a state's Board of Internal Revenue. And not long after, he came back and said, I can no longer work in the system. Why? Because everything we have to do, we have to get approval. If we finish an audit, you need to serve assessment. You have to go back to the person that appointed and says, we are finished this audit. Should we levy assessment? So that is the kind of situation we have. The tax authority don't have the power to carry out the function they have been asked to carry out. We also have large informal sector that makes tax administration and tax compliance difficult. We also have the issue of multiplicity of taxes and multiplicity of tax administration. You know, Nigeria is one of the peculiar countries in that have so many tax administration. If you look at it vertically in Nigeria, we have more than 700. If you are looking at, we have the local government revenue committee, you look at the state board of internal revenue, you look at the federal inland revenue service, you look at custom. Nigeria is a country that have the most tax administration, in fact, in the world. No country in the world has many tax administration as we have in Nigeria. So it makes compliance very difficult. And all these 774 or more than close to 800 tax administrations are levying assessments. And what is the implication is a burden for taxpayer to comply with those assessments, or if there are no assessment is raised, to even answer audit queries or file returns, multiple tax returns is a challenge for the taxpayers. So those are some of the issues we had that needed reform, that necessitated reform that was carried out. And when we look at the reform in Nigeria, what opportunities will reform deliver? It will broaden the tax base. Reform will help to adopt digitalization and automation. It will to strengthen tax administration. For instance, the 2002 reform that we had is what strengthened the Federal Inland Revenue Service today, that the Federal Inland Revenue Service is an autonomous body. That came out from the reform. Then we had the opportunities for reform include international tax collaboration. It will help us to collaborate with other bodies and to improve public awareness and sensitization. So if those are the challenges, some of the challenges, and these are the opportunities, what is the way forward for Nigeria? And the way forward for Nigeria was the tax reform bills. I mean, the reform that was initiated recently. Now, I need to also point out, and I think Taiwo Yedele also mentioned the fact that the reform, this 2024 reform, goes beyond the tax bills that we have with the National Assembly. So we shouldn't make the mistake of thinking that everything about this reform is the tax bills that are the 4 tax bills that are before the National Assembly. Taiwo mentioned earlier that the fact that there will still be some submission to the Constitution, to the National Assembly as regards constitutional amendment when he was answering questions about revenue of local government. Those are things that are not in these 4 bills that constitutional amendment is needed before it can be implemented. We also have some issues that go beyond tax bills. For instance, fiscal responsibility. So to amend the Fiscal Responsibility Act, that will go beyond the 4 bills that we have at the National Assembly. So, and another one is the national tax policy, because the national tax policy under the reform is being reworked. So the reform also includes the reforming the tax policy document of Nigeria. And I said the reforms goes beyond the 4 bills. Goes beyond legislation, policy. And when we are talking of policy, we are looking at how taxation is carried on, the framework for taxation. So in this reform, there's going to be a retooling of how tax administration is carried on. And that will be included in the national tax policy document that is being reviewed. So reform, policy has to do with who pays taxes, which taxes is to be paid, when will those taxes be paid. Those are general policy framework, which is also part of this reform. For instance, the reform is looking at jurisdiction of taxes, is looking at who should pay tax. Is it the rich or the poor? And that is why we have amendments now in the law that is shifting the burden of taxation to the rich and reducing the burden of taxation from the poor. We also have legislation. In fact, the 4 bills that have been submitted at the National Assembly is about legislation changes. Then administration. There are so many provisions in the reform, the bill that have been submitted, that aim to improve tax administration. We've had the issue of e-invoicing that the two Taiwo spoke about, is a process of reforming how taxes are administered. So if you also go to the tax administration bill, it talks about providing autonomy. Now we have inside this bill, there's autonomy for the state internal revenue service contained in the in the bills. So it's also a form of reforming administrations. So these reforms, the focus is on high revenue yielding taxes. They are broad-based and relatively that are broad-based. So one of the focus of this bill, the reform is to narrow down the taxes that we want to be collecting. It's not about collecting 60, 70, 100 taxes. How much has those 100 taxes given to us as revenue in Nigeria? So the focus is to do away with some taxes that are not productive and focus on few productive taxes that are broad-based, easy to collect, and will deliver more revenue to governments. The reform also seeks to match taxes and levies that are imposed on the same or substantially similar tax base. So you look at income, for instance. In many jurisdictions, when you talk of income tax, CGT, capital gains tax, is actually part of income tax. But in Nigeria, we have a separate law for capital gain tax. So what this reform is trying to do is to match CGT with company income tax. So taxes that can be matched, let's match them together. And that also explains why we have development levy now, merging NASENI tax, NIDA, education loan, so many taxes, merging it together and giving it a name, development levy, instead of having duplicated and fractionalized taxes. Then the focus is to keep the total number of taxes across all levels of government to a single digit. Of course, that is not going to be achieved through these 4 bills that are with the National Assembly. But as I said earlier, the whole reform is beyond those 4 bills. So there is some aspect of the reform, which Taiwo spoke about earlier, to amend or look at the Constitution and find a way of taking out some of the taxes that are in the Constitution but are not productive, that can be done better by harmonization. Then the focus is also to institutionalize and harmonize tax reform for sustainability. We need our tax system to be sustainable. And we can have the rationale, the need or the rationale for the reforms are in this slide. But let me quickly go to the guiding principle. The guiding principle of the reform is to have a simplified laws, so that gone are the days that you need to call an expert before you can understand what the tax law is saying. In fact, I can assure you now that as a tax professional or any worker at all, to look at your payslip and be able to compute your tax yourself, the way we have simplified or the way the law has been simplified. Another guiding principle of the reform is to harmonize the tax law. We don't need to have 30 tax laws, 20 tax laws, and that is a disincentive to investment. For example, if I'm an investor in another jurisdiction and I need to invest in Nigeria, and I need to get consultants to look at the tax space of Nigeria, and the consultant comes back to me to say, oh, you have 50 tax laws to comply with. You can imagine how it affect my investment decision. So the focus now is to harmonize those laws and taxes to ensure that we have few tax laws. In fact, all the tax provisions in any law of the National Assembly have been extracted, and every provision on taxation now, you can find it only in these 4 bills that are before the National Assembly. Then another guiding principle is to make our tax space neutral, to have neutrality of tax and when we are talking of neutrality, we are talking about neutrality of capital exports, neutrality of capital imports. For instance, if I'm in Nigeria, I need to invest abroad. If I'm going to be taxed twice, Nigeria will tax me, the other jurisdiction will tax me, and I will not be able to claim double taxation relief because there's no DTA. You can imagine what that would do to my investment decision. So one of the things is to ensure that there's neutrality of tax, both in respect of capital export, capital import, and also within Nigeria, so that somebody will not one day pack his load and go to free trade zone because there's better tax opportunities for him or her at the free trade zone. Also, one of the guiding principles is to make Nigerian economy very competitive. So we want to have a competitive economy so that we can attract investment. Create tax certainty. My friend Taiwo spoke about this earlier, so I won't repeat it. Then to be taxpayer focused. We want our taxpayer to pay taxes smiling. Modernization, to modernize the way we practice our taxes, both in terms of technology deployment, in terms of the way we treat our taxpayers, and the way our tax law is, and the way we also adopt and adapt to international tax rules and practices. We want to have efficiency of compliance to ensure that the taxpayers are able to comply with a very minimal cost. And for tax administration, we are able to administer those taxes with very minimal cost. We also want to be data-driven, to have data-driven policy choices. When, for example, if an assessment is raised on you by a tax office and you ask question, the tax authority should be able to give you details of your transaction that necessitate that assessment that have been levied on you. And the tax authority can only do that if they have data. So we want to have a system where our policy are made or necessitated by data. And you can also see that in the VAT area. Data was used to set I know what is the discussion that is going on now is to stay with the 7.5% VAT rate. But in arriving at those graduated increments, data was used, and that data was able to establish that 82% of, by the time this rule is implemented, 82% of income of an average Nigeria will be spent on tax-exempt items. So if 82% of your income will not attract VAT, it's only 18% that will attract VAT. What that will likely do for government is that it will likely reduce VAT collection of government. So that necessitates the proposed increment from that 7.5 gradually to 15%. And based on data that was generated, even with the increment to 15%, the effective payments, the burden of tax VAT will actually not increase. So what it means that even when I'm paying VAT at 15%, what I will be paying will be lower than what I was paying when I was paying at 7.5, because now the intention was to reduce items to pay VAT on, especially items consumed by the poor. And the only few items you are going to be paying VAT on to increase the rate of that on the VAT on those items. To also align with economic objective of government, government has said it's not interested in taxing seed, but to tax fruits. Government is not interested in taxing poverty, but to tax prosperity. And they are not interested in taxing capital, but to tax returns. So the law we have, the form is meant to implement that policy, economic policy objective. And that is why the issue of minimum tax that allow people to pay tax on capital, companies to pay tax on capital, was yanked off from the tax law. And lastly, to align with global best practices. And the new tax bills, we have 4 of them, which my colleague Taiwo has earlier presented to you. So I won't repeat that. I can quickly, because I know I have limited time, and there's no point repeating what Taiwo has presented. I am aware that he hasn't presented some of the issues that are in some of the proposal in the law, but the presentation I've submitted to the coordinator has most of the changes that have been brought about. So I want to believe that presentation will be shared, and you can always look back to that presentation and look at it. I think the only one area that I find it difficult to agree with my friend Taiwo is when he was saying that now, because of what has been passed at the National Assembly, some provisions has changed. As of today, there's no provision that has changed because we know that the Assembly has two houses, the lower house, the House of Rep and the Senate. So nothing has changed until it is passed at both the House and the Senate, and they have gone into harmonization. And it is only then that we can be talking of anything that has changed. So what the House has passed today, will be passed by the House with notice of them, but they have not changed the proposal we have presently until it is finally passed by both houses. Now, as I'm trying to speed up, I will quickly go about some myths. There are some things there are some facts about this reform, and there's a myth about the reform. Things that are not there, that people think are there. So I quickly look at few of them. Some people think that the reforms introduce new taxes that will increase the financial burden on individuals. That especially the low-income earner will not pay more taxes in this dispensation. In fact, the low-income earners will pay less as long as your income as an individual is lower than average of 1.7 million in a month. You are not going to pay more tax. In fact, those that have less than 1.7 million per month will likely pay less. They will pay less. It's those that earn from 1.7 million a month and above that will actually pay more taxes under this new dispensation. So it's focusing on taxing the rich and reducing the burden on the poor. Then there is some thinking that what we have presently is the law. No, as Taiwo has indicated, the National Assembly has power to change anything that you have in these bills. So changes are being made by the National Assembly, and changes will be made by the Senate, and by the time they finish, they will make some changes, and at the end of the day, it is what they have passed into law that becomes law, not the proposal that we presently have before them. Then there's myth about the new VAT formula, the fact that it will lead to lower revenue from some states. That is actually a myth, and that was the fear of so many governors. The fact is, for so many states, they will get more VAT revenue from the formula that has been proposed, not getting less. I'm aware that this formula has been varied at the House, but as I indicated earlier, we noted what the House has said, but it is not final until the Senate has also passed the same or similar thing. Then there's this myth that the bill seeks to merge or scrap some agencies. In fact, some will say FRS is taking over the job of custom, taking over the job of so many agencies. That is not true. That's actually a myth. The bills did not scrap any agency. It did not scrap custom. If the only thing that FRS it will be collecting that relate to what custom is doing is the collection of excise on service, and excise on duty and all custom duty will still be collected by custom, not FRS. So there will be FRS and there will continue to be custom. There will continue to be NASENI and all the agencies of government. Nothing has changed under this bill. The only thing that has changed or that has been proposed as change in the bill is how to fund those agencies. That is NIDA, NASENI, TED Fund, and so. It's the funding that was meant to change. not scrapping the agencies. Then there's myth that the bills are introducing inheritance tax. I think I Oyedele spoke about this, the fact that there's nothing like inheritance tax in this bill. What people call inheritance tax is this. It says income of family is taxable, and it is correct. For instance, if I have with my siblings, I have a property with my siblings, and I have another property alone. Rent, if I get rent from the property I have alone, withholding tax is deductible, so that rent is taxable. The same tax treatment should be applicable when rent is paid in respect of the property I have together with my siblings. So this is what just the provision of the bill is talking about, not inheritance tax. The fact that when an income is received by a family, it is taxable the same way when an income is received by an individual. So that we don't want to create an arbitrage where income that is earned by a family is not taxable and income that is earned by an individual is taxable. What will likely happen then is that people begin to own property together or own assets together, families, so that they can get income that is going to be escaping from taxes. Then the myth that workers will pay more pay. I've said this, workers are not going to pay more tax. Then the myth that reliefs and reduction in taxes that are provided by the bill will lead to reduction in tax collection. For tax administration, there may be fear that, we will get less now because of the bill provision in the bill, because of the allowances, because of the relief that have been provided. But if you look at the bill as a whole, as it's taken from one side, it's also looking at the other side to balance it up. For instance, when it is increasing or expanding the VAT exemption, it's also looking at increasing VAT rates. When it is looking at reducing income tax rates, it's looking at increasing VAT rate. So it is meant to balance each other. When it's also looking at expanding the base. For instance, the deployment of e-invoicing and fiscalized instrument will expand the tax net. Some have also said that we don't have power. How will the fiscalized instrument or invoicing work? For instance, we don't have power yet. The POS are working. So the fiscalized instrument will be little device like those POS that can work offline. And by the time it's connected, it can generate data and send it to the tax authority. So what are the benefits of this reform? It will harmonize taxes. So we have few tax laws. In fact, only 4 tax laws. And also we have few number of taxes. Another benefit is it will help us leverage on technology to collect taxes. We are going to be having e-filing, ease of monitoring, ease of tax administration, deployment of digital solution, and so on and so forth under this new dispensation. We are also going to have a tax system that is fair and equitable. In fact, if you look at our present PIT system, you look at somebody that earn 1 million and somebody that earn 1 billion. They are actually going to be paying tax at the same rate, mostly at the same rate. Why we say we practice tax system that is progressive. So in theory, we say we practice progressive tax system, but in practice, our tax system is actually almost proportional, because after the 320 rates, anything after is at 24%. So what it means is that if I earn 1 million, some of my income will be taxed at 24%. Somebody earning 1 billion, his income will also be taxed at 24%. So that is a distortion. It makes our tax system unfair and unequitable. So this new dispensation will ensure we have a fair and equitable tax system. It will also strengthen enforcement mechanism, and it will help tax administration. before I close, I think this should be my last slide. Let me talk about the challenges in implementing the reform bills. So the challenge we will likely have is non-conclusion of the reform. So one of the things I hope is that we will not, the task committee, the presidential committee headed by Taiwo, will not rest after these 4 bills are passed, because as I said earlier, the reform goes beyond the 4 bills. So it's important that we're able to conclude the whole reform and not thinking that the moment the 4 bills are passed, then it is uhuru, we can go home and rest and sleep. Then the fear of policy alignment. So when the committee, the presidential committee were working on these 4 bills, I want to believe they work on it as a whole. So there are some balancing. They are taken from somewhere and putting in somewhere. And when something is taken from somewhere, it will lead to unbalance. It can cause distortion. For instance, the VAT example I gave, in them arriving at allowing all input to be deducted, in also deciding that expansion of some exempt items are necessary, they were looking at increasing the rate from 7.5 to 15% gradually. Now there is distortion where you have said at the assembly and by the governor that we will stay at 7.5, yet the other thing that is supposed to balance that increment is still there, because there's still going to be claim of all inputs and there's still going to be those expanded exemptions. So there will be some distortion or lack of policy alignment, because now we will likely have reduction in tax revenue that is not compensated by another part of increments. Then we also have political consideration. There are some portion of the bill that will be overtaken by political or ethnic consideration. Our country, we are so polarized. I don't know why. And there are some provisions we say, oh, this one is against my region. For instance, the family income taxation we spoke about, some regions think is inheritance tax. It's not going to benefit us. So, those political considerations, those ethnic considerations will negatively impact on the bill. And the economic model and balancing that have been created in the bill. Then we need political will and administrative structure to implement this new bill. Administrative structure in the sense that some of my friends that are State Board of Internal Revenue executive chairman, they've been complaining that, we can't collect pay now because most of our most staff in our state earn below the 800,000, that is 0%. So that means we are not going to be collecting taxes. But my response to them has always been up a new structure, because the rule has changed and you must put a structure that will enable you to implement the change. So if now you can't collect taxes from the poor, in the structure that will allow you to collect tax from the rich. So the success of these deals, the success of the implementation will depend on the ability of tax administration to put in their thinking cap, change their structures, tinker with the way they do things presently so that they're able to focus on the direction that the bill is focusing on. And lastly, change management. As Taiwo has said, the new bill is going to change the way we do taxation. So tax professionals, tax administrators, academics, and so on, we must relearn what we have before and learn a new thing. For instance, the way we do our capital allowance has changed. So we need to understand that. Your tax, the way we do our tax computation has changed. Pay and so many things has changed. So it is important that the tax administrators and tax professionals are able to change their system to match what we're going to have under this new dispensation. Even for ICANN, our curriculum is going to change. The way we do our curriculum, the curriculum we have presently has changed, because We are not going to, the way we, as I said earlier, the way we do capital allowance has changed. The PIA we used to have, the hydrocarbon tax under the PIA has changed. PPT, we don't have PPT any longer. We have PPT now. It has. So the way we administer those three, that is a PPT, the hydrocarbon tax, and the PPT, the hydrocarbon tax, and tax under the DOIBA. The way we administer them before is separate, but now all of them has been harmonized. So those things have to be reflected in our curriculum. So CITN, the lawyers, the task at the law school, the law school, the CITN, every professional body that has something to do with taxation, and every academic schools, those schools that have something to do with taxation must now change their curriculum to reflect this new change. In conclusion, we know that the reform is in progress. It's a work in progress. There's going to be successes. There is going to be challenges on the way, but it's important that we stick together as tax professionals and we ensure the success of the reform. Thank you, colleagues.
All right. That was a beautiful one from you, sir. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, you can do better than that. Give a round of applause to Mr. Kehinde Kajeshomo, FCA. Well, we are at that point now. The twin has presented, the two Taiwos and the Kehinde, they've presented. I think it's now your turn to present. Well, what do you think? Are you presenting? All right, that is, all of them are presenting actually. Okay, the high table said you are all the Idowus and Idogbe's, if you know what we mean by that. Ladies and gentlemen, that takes us to the next segment, which is the question and answer. Of course, those of you participating online, you also have the opportunity to ask questions. And I don't know if Mr. Tairu is still there. Let me start with him. Are you still on, Mr. Tairu? FCA? All right, we'll get to know that. Yes, let's do it this way. Because of want of time, we have, let's say, a few questions, maybe 3 here and 3 virtually. So all the questions, when you come on, let's know who you are actually directing your question to. Of course, you cannot direct question to Mr. Taiwo Yodele. He has gone back to his meeting. So the questions will now be for the Taiwo and Kehinde, which are still with you, the Taiwo Okwadesa and the Kehinde Kajeshomo. All right, can we start from my beautiful audience here? Yes, I have you. Okay, and I also have you. Oh, I know this is a beautiful topic, and many of us will want to ask questions. Then one more in the hall, and you, sir. Okay, you can quickly come out as we take your questions in turn. Please, as you come, tell us your name, your membership number, and you go straight to your question. Thank you so much. Let's start with you.
All right, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ogumba Odamilola, membership number 49637. So my question is directed to the offline Taiwo, like the one, our lecturer that is sitting down here. That's the online Taiwo. Okay, so you spoke about digital assets now becoming chargeable assets. So my question is the cryptocurrency, the NFTs that are about to be charged. How does the government intend to do that? Because I know most of the platforms that we use in buying the Ethereum, the Bitcoins and everything, we can't use our Naira cards. It does not accept transfers personally from Nigerian banks. We need to find somebody that has those digital assets, pay the person, then the person transfers it to our wallet. Even when we are paying the person, we cannot even indicate in the reference that, okay, I'm buying Ethereum or a Dogecoin, we cannot indicate it. So how does the government intend to track those people for that tax purpose? Thank you very much.
All right, sir. I think you are noting the questions, sir. Let's gather out the questions. You can come forward. Your name, membership number, your question.
Thank you, sir. Atonda Folashade, membership 40225. I'm directing it to Mr. Taiwo. I started the other time that you said the minimum tax should be based, initially it was based on revenue, but now they've changed it to profit. What about a situation whereby you don't make profit? It was a loss at the end of the day. That's one. Two, when Accountant General was discussing, asking question to former Mr. Taiwo, he talked about people living in Ogun State, working in Lagos State. Has the rule of the payment of their taxes, has it changed? Or is it stay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. My name is Sarumi Razak, membership number MB051327. My question is, the tax bill as it is focuses more on formal taxes, CGT, PIT, and all. How do the government, how do they want to bring on informal taxes? Like the tailor that is working, the mechanic that is, how do they pay? How does this tax reform relate to them? How do they bring them on board to join the tax net? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you so much. Those are the three questions for the audience here. Technicals, have you been able to sieve out the virtual questions for me? No virtual questions for now. Okay. Mr. Taiwo, before we come to the Taiwo in-house, let's have you, Mr. Kehinde Kajeshomo, to speak to those three questions, while after you, Mr. Taiwo here will also speak to it. What do you say, sir?
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
moderator.
Before you go, sir,
Yes.
briefly just speak to those three questions in the next 2 minutes, sir. We have some Muslims here that are going to observe their prayers. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, how do you track crypto assets? I can say, inform you that the process is on at the Federal Inland Revenue Service. May not be able to speak for other states or revenue service, but I know the process is on from, in fact, by the time we finish the process, we are going to get enough information that we are going to be sharing, the Federal Inland Revenue Service will be sharing with the states. And the process is going to be in conjunction with other countries. So it's a interjurisdictional process that will work together under the auspices of the OECD for the purpose of tracking those transactions and being able to collect taxes on them. Then on minimum tax payments, loss-making company will not pay global minimum tax. Straight response, for people living in Ogun State, the rules presently have not changed. Nothing has changed in what we have presently on domestic residency rule. Then process of capturing informal sector. I'm aware that, like I can quickly say two things. There's taxation of informal sector, which we call presumptive tax regime in the new law, and also deployment of fiscalization instruments is going to help to capture the informal sector. As I said earlier, these fiscalized instruments are small devices that can be used in the market and everywhere, and it will capture those, as many people that are buying and selling. It will be reported and they can be tracked through that process. I think I can allow Taiwo to continue now. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Kehinde.
Okay, thanks, Kehinde. I think you've addressed most of them, but I'll just quickly touch on the crypto and the digital asset generally. as it is at the moment, there is no mechanism for taxing digital assets. And digital assets is not something that has been formally recognized by the Nigerian government. You need to understand that. So, but the fact that something is illegal, if you are making money from it, it is taxable. If you're an armed robber, you go to the tax authority and you say that, I just robbed somebody, I made this money, they will collect the tax on it. So, yeah. So they'll collect the tax on it. Even though it is not formally recognized, the tax authority intends, or the government intends to put it in the tax law. So what I expect is that the FRS will come up with rules, guidelines on how they intend to tax it. At state level, because I know, FRS is always, ahead of state when it comes to some of, taxation of some of these assets. At state level, the state will now need to come up with the rules or guidelines on how they intend to tax some of these digital assets. It's very difficult to track because, you can't come to me and just say that, I want to check your phone and see all the platforms where you are trading. It is not possible. Some of these, like the gentleman said, some of these transactions, you don't even do them in crypto. You can't see the crypto. When you want to buy those assets, you transfer Naira. And those Naira, you don't describe what you are using them to do. So it's difficult. So I expect guidelines to be issued on how they are going to be taxed. But as it is at the moment, there's nothing. There's no mechanism. So the next one is about ATR minimum tax. When you want to calculate effective tax rate is usually the tax divided by the profit. That's the way it is. So what government is saying is that when you divide your tax by your profit, it can't be less than 15%. So what that means is that if you say you have tax and the profit is 0, you understand? 50% of 0 will always be 0. You understand? So if there is no profit, then there is no tax. So how does this affect? So somebody asked the question about the informal sector. How do you want to tax the tailors? If you want to tax like Kenny said, there's what is called presumptive tax regime. Now, I can tax the people that I don't know because tailors, they don't keep record of the money that they are making, right? How do you tax them? So what government is doing, it has been, I think Lagos State tried to do it in the past, where you can go to the market and just say, okay, you just pay this amount of tax. Even though I don't know what you are making, people pay equal amount of tax. So it is what is now going to be formally introduced into the law now, which is called the presumptive tax. I'm assuming this is what you are making, and I'm assuming this is what you should be paying, even though I don't have any record of your transaction. Does it make sense? So if you don't want to pay presumptive tax, what you need to do is to make sure that you register your business and you're filing, you are keeping records and you're filing return. If you don't do that, then you pay presumptive tax. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Please permit me to stand behind you to quickly recognize another question from a participant on the YouTube. This is a Folashade Adeleye Feti. She said, please, I need more explanation in regards to input credit for professionals. Then I think another one, that is still very much the problem of remittance due to network issues, and it puts undue pressure on the persons deducting at source. What's the way forward? Those are the two questions posed by that colleague.
Okay, thanks. Very good questions. For services, input VAT on services, like I was said, and Taiwo also alluded to it, and Kennedy also touched on it, that the law as it is at the moment, you don't claim input VAT credit on services. Now, what the government wants to do is that when you buy services or somebody provides services to you, they charge you VAT, right? That VAT is your cost. Is your cost. What government want to do now is that they don't want it to be your cost anymore. They want you to be able to claim it back from government. So when you also provide you sell services to clients like accountants, let's say accounting firms, or firms that provide services or provide test services, anything. The input VAT that you have incurred, you can claim it as a credit against your output VAT. So in that case, it is no longer your cost. It is a cost that is recoverable by you. That is what it means. I know the AG was saying that how practicable is it going to be? He was talking about the practicability. Yeah, there will be, let me tell you, everything that you have in the law, there will always be practical issues around them. Don't think, if they are not practical, the people that are making money from doing it, they will not be making money. If everybody understands it, the people that are making money, I won't be making money anyway. If you all understand, if everybody in the country understand tax, I will not make money. So that is why there will always be those practical issues, and those that practice or those that understand it will now need to find a way to navigate some of those practical challenges in conjunction with the tax authority that are supposed to be the one enforcing some of those laws. Then the second question is around okay, about remittance. Okay, whether the remittance, whether when there is an even at says at the moment, if there is a network issue, if you are experiencing a network issue on the last day of filing, you're supposed to file on the 21st. If there is a network issue, you are entitled to reach out to the tax authority to let them understand that there's a network issue that you cannot pay. I know people find it difficult. If there's a network issue, it is not your fault. You understand? It is sometimes it can be there is a problem with the platform. So what you need to do, the moment you start experiencing it, call the appropriate person at the tax office and let them know that you're experiencing tax network issue. You have made payment to your bank. As long as you can provide evidence that you have transferred that money to your bank, then it's fine. You can't say that, oh, I've not transferred money to the bank, but there's a network issue. That money is still sitting with you. The money cannot sit with you. It has to sit with the bank. And there must be evidence that it has been transferred. Does it make sense? So, like I said, there will always be practical challenges, but there are always ways around those practical challenges. Yeah, absolutely. You document it, send an email to them or write to them that, this is, and make sure that somebody presents that document to them. So that when somebody is coming in the future to say that, oh, they charge you penalty on tax promise, you can say, no, I reached out to them to explain or to complain about this network issue, and this is the letter that I sent, stamped, acknowledged by them. Does it make sense?
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Taiwo Okunade, and of course, Mr. Kehinde Kajeshomo for dealing. Yes, I know. That's their call to prayer, I know. I've told them. But before we go to observe our prayers, and before we let you go, Mr. Taiwo and Mr. Kehinde joining us virtually, please, you do us this honor to join the 15th chairman of our chapter to actually say a big thank you to this set of that I'm going to call out, that is the technical committee. I have the instruction of the chairman to actually call them out, to appreciate them. In fact, you agree with me, Mr. Taiwo and Kehinde, that one of them did not allow you to sleep every time they send message, they call, and the likes like that. Just for us to have a beautiful section today. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome, as I call them out, the technical committee. I have Mrs. Bakare Ajibola. Quickly, please, wherever you are, FCA, please come out. That's the chairman of the technical committee, FCA, yes. I also have Mrs. Suara Oluwatoyin Deborah, FCA. That's the vice chairman of the chapter. You can quickly come out, quickly. And Mr. Oke Aminu Ayodele Oluniyi, FCA. That's Ayo, Baba Ayo, and that's actually the technical secretary. And my humble self, thank you. Then I also have Mr. Ambali Abiodun Kabir, FCA. It's a member of the committee, Mrs. Abdullahi Raji Faintola, FCA, a member of the committee. Mr. Raji Saminu Abiodun, FCA, please come forward. Member of the committee. Mrs. Okusoya Oluwakemi Aino, FCA, please come forward. Mr. Dipaiva Adebola, FCA, please come out. Mr. Tijani Sadiq Abiodun, FCA, a member of the committee. Mr. Oladeji Mukaila Olajide, ACA. No, there must be balance now. You know, the president said it the other time. You cannot just have FCA. The youth shall grow. No, the hold will still stay. Don't go there. All right, and that is Mr. Oladeji Mukaila Olajide, ACA. Mrs. Fabumi Olaiton Olajumoke, ACA. Mr. Otun Wahid Dami, come forward, please, ACA. And Mrs. Oladejo Oluwatoyin Sherifat, ACA. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the 15th chairman and our facilitator, my chairman, I present to you the technical committee who has actually put this together on behalf of the think. Okay, the president. Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you so much, ma.
We want to say big thank you to you. You know, this session, we have enjoyed it. It is not without their efforts. They've worked assiduously to make sure that this technical session is a success. And I appreciate them so much. Thank you very much. God bless you. Don't go yet. We'll quickly take a picture with you. And I want to encourage other people, other members. You are not in any committee. Please try and be in a committee and let us see what you can do. The building committee is going to start its work soon because we're going to start our fundraising. So begin to gear up because we're going to work very hard. Thank you. I want to invite our coordinator to join us. Two lines. Okay, some people can go up. Yes. So can we have, you know, you're trying what? Please, can you join us? Please come. All right.
All right, thank you so much. The technical committee, you are blessed in Jesus' name. All right, in less than 1 minute, I'm inviting one of members of the technical committee, Mr. Ambali Kabir Abiodun FCA, to quickly recognize our members online on the Zoom and YouTube. 1 minute, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody here seated. We want to appreciate a reasonable number of our notable members that are with us online. We want to appreciate them for their time and attention. And among those that we have online are our past chairmen. We have Mr. Akin Tairu, FCA. We thank you for your time. We also have Mrs. Bola Odubore, FCA, online. We have Mr. Lamidi Olabode, FCA. Thank you for your time. And we have a former treasurer of the chapter, Dr. Kilanko Olayinka, online. While the program was going on, we have in attendance the treasurer of the chapter, Mr. Jimo Omoni Razak, FCA, the director of finance and accounts for Lagos State Printing Corporation. Mr. Jimo, you are welcome, sir. We also have online a number of directors. We have a number of directors of finance and accounts, and also directors in the Office of Internal Audit and other ministries, departments, and agencies in Lagos State. We have Mrs. Lawal Lanre, Director, Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget. We have Mrs. Ganiyu Moriliat, Director, Office of Internal Audit. We have Mr. Adeola Olugui, FCA, also Director in the Office of Internal Audit. We have Mr. Adesede Peter Aiteru, Director, Office of the State Auditor General. We have Mr. Tola Ekemode, Director of Finance and Accounts, Office of the Deputy Governor. We have Mrs. Adekoya Mufliat Adenike, Director, Audit, TESCOM, that is Teaching Service Commission. We have Mr. Adeshino Sikiru Omotayo, Director of Finance and Account, LASEMA. We have Mr. Anjoni Ismaila Olawale, Director, Internal Audit, Ministry of Lands. We also have Mr. Joseph Oluwafumilola, Director, Internal Audit. Mr. Kunle Taiwo, Director, Internal Audit, Ministry of Works. We also have an Internal Auditor of Local Government in the person of Mrs. Olugbile Riskat Bolariwa, FCA. We have Mr. Ganiu Akoni Olanrewaju, Director, Internal Audit, Lagos State Sports Commission, is with us online. And we have Mr. Shitu Adeni, Director of Finance and Accounts, Lagos State Material Testing Agencies. We recognize all of you. We thank you. We appreciate you for your time and your rapt attention. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Those of you that are joining us online, we really appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen, you will agree with me, this is a beautiful session that we have had. And I want to believe the twin has done justice to the paper at hand. Without wasting much of our time so that they don't do the call to prayer on me again, let me invite the vice chairman of this great chapter, Mrs. Suarau Oluwatoyin Deborah, to give the vote of thanks and to really appreciate our facilitators. You are welcome, ma.
Beautiful afternoon to you, distinguished professional colleagues. I thank you, the 60th Diamond President of our great institute, ably represented by Dr. Omidiji. Thank you, sir, for your time. We know that you are very, 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 I can't overemphasize that, very busy people. We know, and attention, please. I want you to know that the president meant to be here, but our chairman just informed us that today is their council meeting, and you cannot take him out on a date of a council meeting. Hence, he would have been here in person because he promised us he was going to come. So we are honored to have you, sir. Thank you so much. Extend our greetings to... Okay. So thank you, sir. Like I said, thank you, our distinguished facilitators, our world-class facilitators. We appreciate you so much. Thank you for impacting in us over and over. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Dankuo, for your presence, for your attention. My chair, my chairman, thank you. My past chairman, thank you. My IPC, Mr. and Mrs. Danko, we appreciate you. Thank you for always being there for us. And to our distinguished participants, online and on-site, we appreciate you. On-site, online, we appreciate you. We wish you well, and we look forward to seeing you again at our AGM and then the fundraising ceremony. Thank you and have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you so much. Put your hands together for the vice chairman of this chapter. And ladies and gentlemen, we are coming gradually to the close of this session. And I have some vehicles here with me that LASMA are about to do some one or two things. But I will tell them that they should hold on. In the next 2 minutes, we'll close and everybody can move their car. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to invite to the podium the chairman of this technical committee to give us the closing prayers. While the technicals get ready with the national anthem and the icon anthem. Closing prayer.
In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, all praises be to him, the cherisher and the sustainer of the world. We thank him for his presence. We thank him for his understanding with us. We thank him for the grace he has given us. And we are departing here. We are departing for goodness. We are departing for health. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. Alamin. Ar-Rahman Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alayhim ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Amin. Amin. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun alal mursalin. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Takbir. Takbir. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. That was a beautiful closing from all of us here. Ladies and gentlemen, please, let's rise up as we take, please, without no noise, as we take the national anthem and the icon anthem.
Truth Chartered Accountant of Nigeria. Noble like and noble like and your accuracy we cherish. We uphold your integrity.
Thank you so much. God bless you. See you at the building launching.